That's fine.
Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel, Writing Stories. I'm Kimberly D. Tate,
And I'm LM Spilsbury.
better known as Kim and Louise.
Yeah.
Today we just want to talk a little bit about Louise's series that she's writing. And so why don't you tell us about your books that you're working on, Louise, and what your journey's been like so far, and how did you come up with the idea?
Sure. I'll show you the cover of the book that I published last fall. It's Immunity Cage, and the series is Modified Humans. It's actually a series that I've been working on for 5 or 6 years. The idea for it was a bit of a process. I started writing one day without planning to after a hiatus of many years. And I was just freeform writing, and then this character appeared on the page, and all my senses went, "Ooh, now this is an interesting person."
Well, hello
But
there.
that's right, exactly right. And I had no idea who this character was or what they did. So it took a long time to figure out who the character who eventually became Gian, who's the hero of my series, who he was. And during this time, a very good friend of mine who's a world-class immunologist had received a couple of awards. One of them was an award for innovation in immunology from her department at the university. And the other one was actually the Governor General's Award for Innovation in
Nice.
Science. Yeah. And because her area of specialty was immunology, and she had developed a technology that allowed us to be able to tell from a laboratory test which cattle carried a gene for high immune response to prevent disease in cattle. And this was important because in the cattle industry, especially in the beef industry, calves are transported at a young age to feedlots, and because it's a very stressful part of their lives, they will tend to get sick. So if they have an innate immune response that prevents them from getting sick, this is much better than having to give them drugs. So I became interested in this whole idea of immune response and the immune system. And I eventually came up with the idea that Gian was an immunity specialist in a future world that was riddled by pandemics. And this was all before COVID, so in a way,
You must have been psychic or something.
I don't know. I mean, I was pretty convinced that the future of the world that pandemics would be a part of the future just because of climate change and because there are so many people in the world, and we are moving into natural habitats for animals, and a lot of diseases will actually jump from animals to people. But somehow I just didn't expect it to happen within our lifetime. So anyways, I started this series, which without any real thought ended up taking place. At first I had it a couple of 100 years in the future here in Canada, but I decided that's a little too far ahead. It's very hard to predict what things will look like even in a few years, let alone 200 years. So I sort of split the difference and made it at the beginning of the next century. And yeah, so in this future world, humans are created in a test tube, and if the creators are lucky, one of them has an amazing immune system that can be harvested to save ordinary people from disease in a world that's been subjected to one pandemic after another. So it was an interesting idea, and as it's happened, it's ended up being a little bit prescient. Studying the progress or the evolution of COVID-19 has been interesting in itself, just to see how societies under pressure react because I think in a way the most prescient thing I ever wrote was in my website. I say that my books are about societies under pressure and the many faces of love. And I never imagined that I would be part of a society under pressure. So there you go.
Yeah. First-hand knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. I think, too, that in our writing, and I think this will be worth a chat of its own, is that we bring forward a lot of our own experience and sometimes trauma in our lives that then inform our writing. And I did go through a very bad year a few years ago, and in some ways, on some level, these books are a little cathartic in that area. But I think that's a chat for another time.
Yes.
So this is Immunity Cage. I'm not sure if, well, I think there we go. I'm not sure on my screen that shows up backwards, and so I printed up the cover for Immunity Bond backwards, and on my screen it looks forward, but I think maybe on yours it's going to be backwards. So I'll get a copy of the book. I haven't got a hardcover yet, and I'll show you at a later date what Immunity Bond looks like.
And they're both available on Amazon and many other platforms, if I'm correct, right?
That's right. They're both available, and there's more books in the series coming. I've started the third book and am well underway with that now.
Great.
So yeah. So I think that's it for today. Thanks for listening.
I hope you'll join us again for another chat with Kim and Louise. We have lots of stories, and hopefully we can be somewhat informative as well, and we hope to see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.